This is the TS5 Plus. It's CalDigit's latest top-of-the-line Thunderbolt 5 dock. Now, I'll go ahead and spoil a bit of my review for you right here at the top of the video. This is the best Thunderbolt dock available today. It's got 20 ports, 3 of which are Thunderbolt 5. There's 10 gig networking, a ton of power, dual USB controllers. This thing is an absolute beast. However, it is also the most expensive Thunderbolt 5 dock that I'm aware of, at least. So we're going to break down all the details so that you can understand why I think this is the best, but I'm also going to cover some alternative options at the end of the video that come in at a lower price, including the regular non-plus version of the TS5, which is another great option. Now, CalDigit did send this unit over to me for review, but they had no say in how I covered it. I want to help you to feel confident with your purchase, whether it is this incredible dock or something else. And if you wind up finding this video useful, you can say your thanks by hitting that subscribe button or using my affiliate links if you decide to make a purchase. And with all that, let's jump into the details. Starting with build and design, like most Thunderbolt docks, this is really just a solid metal box. It's a beautiful dark gray color, which they call space black, and it's also a pretty close match to the space black color on this M4 MacBook Pro. The front features nice smooth aluminum, with the sides sporting a ridged pattern that helps with heat dissipation. On the bottom is a full rubber pad to cushion the dock and prevent sliding. If you prefer to lay it on its side, there are 2 rubber runners included in the box which press onto those side ridges. This gives you the flexibility to decide whether to lay it down or potentially to mount it below your desk with a third-party bracket system for an even cleaner appearance. Overall, this dock is pretty large compared to many others, but for how much this thing has to offer, the footprint is actually pretty darn small. It's genuinely impressive just how much power CalDigit can pack into a box like this. Which brings us to all of that power and how you access it via the port selection. As I mentioned, there are 20 ports total on this dock. Let's walk through them all one by one. Starting on the front, we have slots for both regular SD cards and micro SD cards. These are both UHS-II 4.0 slots, which offer super fast data transfer speeds. Below that, there's a 3.5mm audio combo jack, which allows you to utilize both a microphone and headphones from a single port, perfect for connecting a gaming headset with an included microphone or a wired headset used for making conference calls. There is also a single USB-A port and 2 USB-C ports. All 3 of these are USB 3.2 Gen 2, offering up to 10 gigabit per second data transfer speeds, which is more than enough for most applications. For power, the 2 unlabeled ports on the front provide up to 7.5 watts, whereas this specially labeled USB-C port is a high power port which provides up to 36 watts. Great for charging a high power device like a cell phone. Moving to the back, we see a pretty staggering number of ports. On the right-hand side, we have 3 more USB-C and 4 more USB-A ports. Again, all of these are super fast USB 3.2 Gen 2 with those 10 gigabit per second data transfer speeds. And once again, all of them offer power, in this case at the lower 7.5 watts. For most of these ports on the back, as well as all of the ones on the front, offline charging is enabled, meaning that they will receive power and can charge a device even when a host laptop is not attached. The only exception to that fact are the 2 USB-A ports with a battery symbol next to them on the back. These non-offline capable ports will power off when a laptop is no longer attached and may be good for things like a webcam or a wired keyboard, something that you would want to turn off whenever you disconnect your computer. Below those ports sits the impressive 10 gigabit Ethernet port, which is a huge win for people using network-attached storage devices and transferring large files regularly. Moving to the left-hand side, you have some more audio ports. These are separate audio in and audio out ports, giving you some added flexibility with your audio connections compared to using that front combo port. Next up is the single DisplayPort 2.1, which allows you to connect to a monitor with a traditional display cable. Now, I'm sure that most of you shopping for a dock like this use or are at least aware of DisplayPort. The other popular alternative to DisplayPort, of course, is HDMI, but you won't find any of those ports here. The fact that there is at least one DisplayPort included is a pretty big win for many people. A lot of other Thunderbolt 5 docks remove all HDMI and all display ports, leaving just the USB-C Thunderbolt ports for outbound displays. Now, while it's totally possible to connect to a DisplayPort or HDMI monitor from one of those Thunderbolt ports, you can use one of the cables that I highlighted in this video specifically if you need. It's nice to have a more familiar port that likely works with an existing cable that you already have. Below that DisplayPort sits your 3 Thunderbolt 5 ports, 2 of which are downstream for connecting to displays, high-speed storage solutions, or any other data-hungry devices. Thunderbolt 5 offers up to 80 gigabit per second speeds and can use a feature called bandwidth boost to go as high as 120 gigabit per second in certain scenarios. So this is definitely where you want to connect your most demanding devices. These 2 downstream ports also offer 36 watts of power as well. Finally, the third Thunderbolt 5 port is your upstream port, which connects to your laptop and can charge it with up to 140 watts, more than enough for pretty much any laptop. Other than that, you've got the power port for the device itself, which uses a barrel plug and connects up to this 330 watt power adapter, which is quite large, but is also pretty flat. Though I do have one bone to pick with it, and that's the fact that it makes a very annoying whining sound whenever it's in use. So you'll want to make sure that this is stashed up under a desk or somewhere that you won't be readily within earshot of it. Finally, the last item on the back is a security slot for a Kensington lock to prevent theft, particularly in an office setting. This lineup of ports is legitimately impressive. I'm pleased by the selections that are front-facing, and then the rear-facing lineup is just stacked. I don't think you'll find a more complete set of ports on any other docks, at least not available today. In terms of usability, this is a very easy to use tool. It's simple plug and play for just about everything. Just make sure that the main power is attached, connect your computer and all your accessories, and you're good to go. The host port that connects to your laptop is located on the back, which is nice for more permanent setups with good cable management, leaving the appearance of the front more clean and simple, usually with open ports for day-to-day uses. One thing that you won't find here that exists on some other models is a power button. The previous Thunderbolt 5 dock that I reviewed on the channel from UGREEN had a power button on the front, which I like as a way to shut everything down when it's not in use or to reset the power without unplugging it. For my use cases, this was a good thing. However, I know some people prefer not having a button for simplicity and to ensure that they or a child or pet don't suddenly power off the whole device accidentally by hitting the button. The last usability call out is the offline capable ports, which are directly related to that always on power. With this setup, whether your computer is connected or not, you can have things like phone chargers always at the ready. Next, let's talk about performance. We've already covered the incredible specs that this device offers. In terms of real world results, I've been using this dock in my regular setup for about 3 months now, and it has performed perfectly. As a call out, what I have currently at my disposal unfortunately just isn't always enough to test the complete limits of every single spec on this device, but I'm working hard to improve my testing processes as this channel grows, and by hitting that subscribe button, you can help me get one step closer to the day when I can truly validate every single claim on even a top-end device like this. Nonetheless, I did run a few different tests, and I want to talk through my daily use with this device over those last few months. First, let's start with the easiest, charging. When I recently reviewed UGREEN's Thunderbolt 5 dock, one thing I pointed out was the fact that the total wattage of all of the individual ports exceeded that of the power supply. This meant that the device itself would be responsible for balancing the power draw and that you wouldn't be able to see the maximum speeds per port in all instances, depending on your current usage. For the CalDigit, on the other hand, we have a total of 13 ports, which are capable of delivering power. 9 of them offer 7.5 watts, 3 of them have 36 watts, and 1 to your host computer has up to 140 watts. In total, that's 315.5 watts, which is below the 330 watt total offered by the power adapter. So since it's very unlikely that you'll have every single port full of devices that are each attempting to draw the maximum amount of power available to them, this means that you really shouldn't run into any issue getting the maximum advertised power spec for each of the individual ports whenever they're needed, which is very solid in my opinion. In my personal use, charging has been pretty quick, especially from that front 36-watt port, which I found particularly handy. In a 30-minute test with my iPhone 17 Pro to that front port, I went from 20% all the way to 77%, a 57 percentage point increase in just 30 minutes, which is great. I've really not run into a situation where the power capabilities here have held me back whatsoever. Next is data speed. In my regular usage, data transfers have been incredibly fast. The SD card reader in particular is really impressive. I use this regularly for my work to transfer video files that I film with my camera. Makes sense. In the past, transfers using my MacBook Pro's built-in SD card reader typically ran between 90 to 100 megabytes per second using an SD card that's rated for 150 megabytes per second. Using the CalDigit SD card slot on this dock, it reaches the full maximum of right around 150 megabytes per second, which is 50% faster and thus saving me about 20 seconds for every gigabyte transferred, which is not bad for legitimate time savings in my everyday life. The USB-C ports are also incredibly capable, so fast in fact that I don't have a drive capable of testing those theoretical maximums. What I did find was that their speeds come very close to matching that of the Thunderbolt 5 ports that are directly on my MacBook Pro, which is a good sign. Using a Samsung T7 SSD and a disk speed test program, speeds were about 4 to 5% slower through the dock's Thunderbolt ports compared to the onboard ones. Now, a change that small will likely not even be super noticeable in most instances, which is nice. Additionally, there is one distinct advantage to using the TS5 Plus when you need to transfer a lot of data regularly. That is the fact that it has dual USB controllers. Now, most docks on the market only have a single controller inside, but the TS5 Plus has one which manages the Thunderbolt ports along with the front USB-C and the front card readers. Then there is a second one to manage the front USB-A ports, plus the 7 USB-A and non-Thunderbolt USB-Cs on the back. This helps to prevent bottlenecks caused by running multiple processes on multiple different ports at once, which increases the total bandwidth of the dock as a whole and helps you to get fast speeds no matter the scenario. Again, this is a really cool thing to see and something that you're not going to find on a lot of other docks. The final type of performance to discuss is displays. Now, display performance can be a little bit tricky to understand, and it relies a ton on your specific computer. CalDigit provides a pretty handy chart on their website, which I'll also put up on screen here. Based on how capable this dock is, it's actually more likely that your computer or your graphics card will be the bottleneck when it comes to display output than the dock itself. With the right setup though, the dock can handle up to 8K 60Hz for a single monitor if you're looking to max out resolution, and it can handle up to 500Hz on a 1080p display if you're looking to max out frame rates. It can also get up to 8K 60Hz on dual monitors, and it can go up to 4K 144Hz on a triple monitor setup. But once again, it all depends on your computer, so make sure you consult their documentation first if you've got specific requirements that you're looking to meet. As a real-world example, I have what I imagine is a fairly common setup. I'm running dual 1440p 144Hz displays connected to my M4 Pro MacBook Pro, and I've tried using both the Thunderbolt ports and the included DisplayPort 2.1. My setup is obviously well below the maximum capabilities, and as expected, it handles it without any issue. So as far as specs go, and as far as my real-world usage goes, this dock has performed incredibly well. It's overkill for most people, as evidenced by the fact that I, as a content creator and a tech lover, don't even have the equipment that can truly push it to its limits. Now, for value and pricing, the CalDigit TS5 Plus retails for $500, a very premium price and potentially the most expensive Thunderbolt 5 dock out there, but for good reason. Now, if you don't need quite all these capabilities, CalDigit also has a regular TS5 model available for $400, which we'll talk about soon. But first, let's summarize the differentiators and deal breakers for the TS5 Plus. On the positive side, this dock has a very solid premium build and looks great. There are 20 ports total, including 3 of the latest Thunderbolt 5 ports, which means that it should have what you need for just about any use case. It has 10 gig Ethernet, which is not always the case for other docks in this category. There's excellent data transfer capabilities, including the dual USB controllers that helps to ensure you can get fast speeds even when multiple ports are in use. There's 140 watts of charging to your laptop, plus 330 watts of total power capacity, which is enough headroom to power every single port simultaneously. There are excellent display capabilities through the Thunderbolt ports, as well as through the single DisplayPort 2.1 port. Finally, it has great usability with useful front-facing ports for easy access and rear-facing host ports that give you the ability to have cable management set up for a clean desk. For potential deal breakers, the dock's size is on the larger side, though it makes sense for how much capability is packed in here. It doesn't have a power switch anywhere, which could be a pro or a con depending on how you look at it. The power adapter included is quite whiny, which can be annoying, especially if you work in a quiet environment. Finally, this is a very, very expensive tool, so not everyone's going to be able to afford it. And because of that, I wanted to make sure that I included some alternatives. Let's start with the regular non-Plus TS5 model. If you go with this, first of all, you'll save $100, which is not bad. You get a slightly smaller dock with many of the same capabilities, but that's also missing quite a bit as well. In total, there are 15 ports instead of 20. You get 2 fewer USB-C ports and 3 fewer USB-As. On the display side of things, you don't have that DisplayPort 2.1 port, but you instead get an extra Thunderbolt port, just like what I saw when I reviewed the UGREEN dock. This is an interesting trade-off that, once again, might be better or worse for you depending on your use cases. The Ethernet included is only 2.5 gig rather than 10 gig, which I'm sure will be a deal breaker for some people that are using those high-speed networked storage solutions. There's also only a single USB controller, meaning that you miss out on the ability to handle multiple fast transfers at the same time. And you have a less capable data transfer speeds in general across many of the ports. Finally, the power capabilities are lacking as well, with only 240 watts total instead of 330 watts, and less power to many of the individual ports, including to the Thunderbolt ports and to the high-speed USB-C port on the front. Overall, the regular TS5 dock is still an incredible piece of equipment, but compared to the Plus, it falls short in a lot of areas. So if you want the best, the Plus is the way. If you're fine with good enough, the regular is a great option. But what about options outside of CalDigit? Now, to be clear, I don't think that another dock exists today that truly matches the specs of the TS5 Plus. I've looked, but I have not been able to find one. If you've got one, please share it in the comments. Instead, this section is for people who don't think they need all of the capabilities we've discussed and would like to save a little money as a result. To start, I previously reviewed the UGREEN RevoDock Max 2131. It's a solid dock with specs that are similar to the regular TS5. It has an MSRP of $400, the same as the TS5, but it can often be found on sale for less, making it an intriguing discount option at the right time. You can see my full review linked in the video description if you're interested in learning the full details. For the rest of these, I have not been directly hands-on, but I wanted to provide you with some other places to look just in case. Kensington has a model called the SD5000T5EQ, bit of a mouthful, which is also $400, similar to the T5, but just a bit lacking in the total number of ports. There are 4 Thunderbolt ports, but there's no other USB-C ports, for example, and only 2.5 gig Ethernet. Anker makes the Prime TB5, yet another $400 option, which has a cube shape that stands out amongst the other options visually. It is one of the only models that offers an onboard HDMI port, which makes it user-friendly for some people. Otherwise, there's once again just 2.5 gig Ethernet and nothing else particularly notable about it. Finally, Plugable has a Thunderbolt 5 dock that is a bit trimmed down compared to many others, but still has 2.5 gig Ethernet, 4 Thunderbolt 5 ports, and retails for just $300, making it one of the most affordable options. Now, this is by no means an exhaustive list, but this should help to illustrate how, although there is a lot of options out there, nothing seems to quite compete with the TS5 Plus. So that's how I wound up with the conclusion that I started the video with. I think this is the best Thunderbolt dock available today. If you've got the money to spend and the use cases to justify it, I just don't think that you can get any better. Thank you guys so much for watching. There's affiliate links in the video description if you're interested in making a purchase of any of these docks, and I'll see you in the next one.